The sea has always demanded respect. In the North Atlantic, that respect is often paid in lives. Just off the western coast of Scotland, the Flannan Isles rise like jagged teeth from the water. Known locally as the Seven Hunters, these barren rocks had been feared for centuries. Sailors whispered of strange lights, ghostly voices, and curses tied to the isles. For years, the islands remained untouched, avoided, a place of bad luck. But in 1899, a lighthouse was built there, on the largest island, Eilean Mòr. Its purpose was simple, to shine through the storms and guide sailors home. Yet within a year, the lighthouse became infamous. 3 keepers assigned to its watch would vanish, leaving behind a mystery that has never been solved. The story begins in December of 1900. The lighthouse had only been operational for 12 months, manned by 3 men: James Ducat, the principal keeper, and a seasoned veteran; Thomas Marshall, a younger assistant; and Donald MacArthur, a relief keeper filling in for a sick colleague. Theirs was a harsh life. The Flannan Isles were desolate, battered constantly by Atlantic winds. There was no village, no neighbors, no comfort. Just the men, the cliffs, and the endless sea. Their days were consumed by routine: trimming the lamp, logging the weather, maintaining the equipment. Monotony broken only by the storms that crashed against their rock fortress. On the night of December 15th, the steamer Archer passed through the waters near the Flannans. The crew noticed something odd. The great lamp, which should have been burning bright to guide them, was dark. At the time, this was noted, but not investigated. Storms were common, and the relief crew wasn't scheduled until later in the month. Still, the dark lamp was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. The relief ship Hesperus was delayed by bad weather, finally arriving on December 26th, 11 days after the light went out. As the vessel neared the island, Captain James Harvey looked toward the lighthouse, expecting to see familiar sight of keepers waiting to wave from the cliffs. That was the custom, a signal of welcome to the arriving crew. But this time, the cliffs were empty. The lighthouse stood silent. No figures, no flag raised on the pole. No smoke from the chimney. Just the beam of light, motionless, sweeping across the waves, cold and mechanical. The Hesperus blew its horn. No answer. They fired a flare. Still nothing. Uneasy, Harvey ordered Joseph Mòr, a relief keeper, to go ashore. Mòr landed on the rocky coast and climbed the treacherous path to the lighthouse. The front door was locked. He pounded on it, but no one came. When it was forced open, the scene inside was strange and unsettling. The fire in the hearth had gone out, long enough for the rooms to feel cold. The clock on the wall had stopped. The beds were unmade, as though the men had left them quickly. In the kitchen, utensils were cleaned and neatly put away. There was no food on the table, no half-eaten meal, as some later tales would claim. Yet, oilskin coats, heavy gear the men would never go outside without, were missing. It appeared that 2 of the keepers had gone outside, dressed for foul weather, while one had left in only his shirt sleeves. And in the corner, a small canary sat alive in its cage, chirping in the otherwise silent room. The search extended to the cliffs. At the east landing, there was nothing unusual, but the west landing told another story. Iron railings had been bent and twisted. The heavy railway tracks used to move supply crates up the cliff had been ripped from the concrete bed. A storage box had been smashed open. A rock weighing more than a ton had been shifted by the force of the sea. It was clear the island had been hit recently by immense violent waves. Superintendent Robert Muirhead, who knew the keepers personally, arrived on December 29th to lead the investigation. His conclusion was pragmatic. Ducat and Marshall had gone down to West Landing to secure supplies and equipment as storms approached. MacArthur, perhaps seeing their danger, had rushed out without stopping to put on his coat, breaking the rule that one man must always remain inside. Together, all 3 had been caught in the open, when a wave of extraordinary power struck. They were swept in the ocean and lost forever. It was a tidy conclusion, one the authorities were eager to accept. But not everyone believed it. The Flannan Isles had always carried an aura of superstition, and the mystery fed into it. Over the years, stories emerged of strange logbook entries. According to these tales, the records described how Ducat had grown very quiet, how MacArthur, a hardened ex-soldier, had been reduced to tears, and how the man had prayed through the storms that never appeared on regional weather charts. The final entry, it was said, read, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." These chilling words spread like wildfire, appearing in newspapers and books, making the story seem all more haunted. But when historians examined the original documents, they found no such entries. These dramatic logbook passages were inventions, later embellishments meant to dramatize the disappearance. Even stripped of these myths, the unanswered questions remained. If the men were swept into the ocean, why were no bodies ever recovered? The Atlantic is cruel, yes, but bodies often wash ashore. Why would MacArthur, experienced and tough, abandon his post and rush out without protective gear? Was it panic or loyalty? Did he hear his colleagues cry for help and act on instinct? These questions left cracks in the official explanation, cracks through which speculation poured. Alternative theories bloomed. Some whispered that isolation had driven the man mad, a condition known as lighthouse madness. Perhaps paranoia or hallucinations lured them outside, together. Others suggested foul play. Smugglers, passing ships, or strangers, silencing the keepers after an altercation. There are even those who insist something supernatural claimed the men. A phantom storm, restless spirits, or an ancient curse. On an island already shrouded in folklore, such ideas found fertile ground. In truth, the most likely answer is also the simplest. The West Landing showed clear evidence of storm damage. Protocols had been broken, and the man had been exposed to the sea at its most merciless. One wave, one moment of misjudgment, and 3 lives were gone. Yet without bodies, without witnesses, the mystery hardened into legend. The disappearance of Flannan Isles keepers spread quickly through Britain. Newspapers seized on eerie details. By 1912, the poet Wilfrid Gibson immortalized the event into a haunting poem, Flannan Isle, capturing the ghostly silence of that abandoned lighthouse. Since then, the story has been retold countless times, in songs, books, films, and whispered tales among sailors. Each retelling adds its own layer of myth, blending fact and fiction until the truth becomes almost impossible to untangle. Today, the lighthouse is automated. No keepers are stationed there. It stands alone against the Atlantic, its light still sweeping the dark horizon. But within its walls, the silence remains. Over a century has passed, and the sea has never given up its secret. 3 men vanished without a trace. They left behind no bodies, no farewell, just the fragment of their final days. An empty lighthouse, a stopped clock, a dead fire, and a chirping canary. The official report says they were swept away, but the legend insists there is more. And perhaps, in the end, the sea itself has chosen to keep the truth, because sometimes mysteries are not meant to be solved. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay cautious. Until next time on ReaperFiles.